It was the year 2010, and I was a part of a small crew aboard a research submarine, exploring the depths of the ocean. Our mission was to study marine life and collect samples from the unexplored regions of the sea. Little did we know that our adventure would turn into a nightmare. During one fateful dive, we found ourselves in the midst of a violent storm. The sea raged around us, with colossal waves crashing against the hull of our submarine. The thunderous roars of thunder and lightning filled the confined space, creating an atmosphere of unease and anticipation. As the storm intensified, a sudden metallic thud echoed throughout the submarine. We exchanged nervous glances, but dismissed it as a mere consequence of the turbulent sea. However, as lightning flashed and thunder boomed, the metallic sound repeated itself, sending shivers down our spines. With each subsequent thud, our anxiety grew. We were hundreds of meters below the surface, isolated and at the very mercy of an unknown force. Our unease was magnified by the eerie silence that followed each metallic sound, punctuated only by the relentless storm raging outside. Driven by curiosity and concern, I ventured towards the observation window. The water was murky and the submarine's engines were at full capacity. I peered through the circular glass, and out of the corner of my eye, I noticed a large fluorescent figure darting past, maybe 6 to 8 feet long. I couldn't make out what the figure was, but I assumed it was a large fish of some kind. Fear began to grip my heart as I hurriedly retreated from the window, securing it tightly. Who could be out there so deep in the treacherous depths? What did they want from us? The uncertainty gnawed at my sanity as I sought refuge in the safety of our confined quarters. I let the rest of the crew know what I had just seen. They jokingly brushed off the incident and told me to get some sleep. Maybe I was just tired. Maybe I was just seeing things after all. So I went up to my quarters and decided to get some rest for the night. I suddenly awakened to a loud bang. I turned to my other side and went back to sleep. But shortly after I heard it again, and even louder this time. I decided to get out of bed and check on the glass window once more, but didn't see anything. Just then, lightning illuminated the darkness, and I turned to face the window, only to be met with a sight that would haunt me forever. A pale, distorted face stared back at me, eyes filled with malevolence. In sheer terror, I screamed and sprinted towards the rest of the crew, yelling at the top of my lungs and waking them all up. They all thought I was mad, but I explained I saw a humanoid face outside the window. I know what I saw, and I'm not crazy, but the rest of the crew were visibly angry and upset with me. That was all until a loud, high-pitched screech echoed throughout the entire boat. The sound was deafening, and the entire crew were holding their ears and screaming in agony. It lasted maybe a minute, but it was the longest minute of my life. After the sound passed, everyone knew that something wasn't right, and we had to figure out what was going on. The captain turned on all available lights, and we started to inspect our surroundings. I decided to head towards the front of the sub, where the captain was monitoring the ship's condition, when suddenly the thing appeared right in front of both of our eyes. Its face was scaly and slimy, eyes wide open with razor-sharp teeth. It looked to be somewhat human with a long and colorful tail. The captain's jaw dropped. In complete shock, he immediately started an ascent back to the surface. Once we resurfaced, we inspected the hull of the submarine, tracing many marks left behind the unknown assailant. Upon further inspection, we found extensive damage done to the sail, which handles our communication and navigation. The realization sent shivers down our spines. It wanted us trapped in the depths of the ocean, with no contact to the outside world, and no way to find our way home. 9 years ago, I was on a deep water submarine mission by myself in a small rover sub, the ones with a sphere-shaped acrylic dome and controllable pincer arms. My specific mission of the day was to explore the uncharted waters, to go where no human had ventured before. I was making my descent down the dark and vast ocean environment. The confined walls of the submarine surrounded me, and the dim lights flickered every so often. The feeling of the unknown made my heart race. I felt both excitement and fear, but I knew this was only the beginning. As I descended further, the pressure increased, causing the occasional creaks and groans from the sub's hull. It was a constant reminder of the forces at play, but I tightened my grip on the controls, trying my best to ignore the growing unease. I eventually made it to around 3,000 feet. This was the lowest I would be traveling today, and to be honest, I don't think I would have gone any deeper. Complete darkness consumed my surroundings 360 degrees of the sub, and the feeble beams of light struggled to penetrate the murky waters. I started collecting some geological samples of rocks, sediments, and minerals from the seafloor. This lasted around 2 hours or so, and no more than 5 minutes after I had successfully stored them, the sub's lights suddenly cut off. I was plunged into utter darkness. I couldn't see a single thing, and in those first few seconds, I thought this might be it. I quickly reminded myself of all my emergency training. One of the most important things we learned as submersible operators was to remain calm and not to panic. I then flicked the communication switch in the control panel, hoping to make contact with the lead scientist overseeing the support vessel station on the surface. After what felt like forever, I finally connected to the vessel's communication system. The lead scientist asked me if I got all the samples. I said yes, but I told him there's one slight problem though. My lights are dead. He told me not to worry about it, and that it was normal due to power fluctuations at the current depth I was at. He told me to sit tight, and that if they don't come back on within the next 10 minutes or so, to reconnect with the vessel's communication system. Shortly after we disconnected, my comm system started to bug out. All I could hear was static white noise, and at this point I knew something wasn't right. I fumbled for the emergency flashlight, my hands now trembling with apprehension. I turned the beam on and it illuminated a small portion of the sub, casting a shadow that danced with the sway of the water. I felt like the darkness itself had come alive and was mocking my feeble attempts to regain control. I could see strange shapes dancing at the edge of my vision, and then disappearing into the shadows as quickly as they had appeared. My imagination ran wild. I simply could not comprehend what I was seeing. It had now been 30 minutes since my last conversation with the lead scientist, and I knew if I didn't start my ascent soon, I wouldn't have enough oxygen to make it back to the surface. I was in a really bad position, but I knew it was now or never. I had to act. I started my ascent back to the surface knowing full well I was completely blind and practically deaf. I then started to hear strange whispers coming from all directions, and as if things couldn't get any worse, all of a sudden the sub's warning alarm started going crazy, notifying me of an electrical malfunction. It was to do with the sub's oxygen levels. They were plummeting fast, and now the air was starting to get contaminated. I frantically tried to recalibrate the oxygen system, but it was no use. The controls were unresponsive. I was now at 500 feet and my oxygen levels were incredibly low. I had roughly 8 minutes of breathable air left. These were the hardest 8 minutes of my life. I was slipping in and out of consciousness while gasping for breath. Why me, I thought. Not like this. Through sheer determination, I made it to 150 feet, and just when I was about to give up, just when I thought it was over, I somehow managed to regain partial control over the oxygenated system. I was able to stabilize the oxygen levels and restore a sense of order to the chaos. I finally burst through the water, gasping for air as the sunlight blinded my eyes. The support vessel's crew rushed to my aid, pulling me to safety and enveloping me in warm blankets. As I lay there, trembling and exhausted, I couldn't shake off the haunting memories of that terrifying descent. I knew that I had come face to face with death itself, and I decided that would be my last time as a submersible operator. I was part of a decent-sized deep-water expedition team, embarking on a dive to explore the uncharted depths of the ocean. Our main objective was to survey seismic events and report on any potential dangers. I was thrilled to be a part of this mission, as I knew it would be an entirely new and exciting experience. Our dive began late in the afternoon around 5 p.m. Once we reached our optimal diving depth, we initiated the documentation process. Approximately 15 minutes into our dive, something unexpected happened. Our sonar picked up on a massive object on the display. It appeared to be the size of an oil tanker, which immediately caught our attention. However, it made no sense since there were no active shipping routes anywhere near our location. Curiosity got the better of us. and I suggested that we resurface and investigate the mysterious object. The captain was initially skeptical, but after some deliberation, he agreed. After 30 minutes, we ascended to the surface, eagerly anticipating what we would find. To our astonishment, there was nothing but expansive open sea. There was no oil tanker or any other discernible object in sight. We were puzzled and concluded that it must have been a sonar detection error, or perhaps a large marine creature like a whale. Deciding to put the incident behind us, we dove back into the sea and resumed our mission. For approximately 2 hours, we diligently carried out our tasks without any noticeable occurrences. However, that all changed when our instruments detected another massive object accompanied by a distress signal beacon. We made repeat attempts to establish communication with the vessel, hoping to identify its origin or offer assistance. Sadly, there was no response. Unfortunately, as a small expedition team, we lacked the necessary equipment for a full-scale rescue operation. Suddenly, a live message broke through. "Hello? We're stranded." The unexpected transmission sent shivers down our spines, leaving us in a state of shock. The captain made the crucial decision to prioritize the distressed vessel, and so we altered our course accordingly. Despite our relentless attempts to establish contact, we received no response. As we attempted to move towards the unknown vessel and help, we noticed things were a bit strange. Our system and cluster instruments were behaving unexpectedly. They were constantly providing false readings, displaying various objects on the sonar. This led us to believe it was a collision, but it was extremely hard to be 100% certain of anything. There was now a sense of worry in the air. As we continued our efforts, we realized we were now only 300 meters away from the vessel. Driven by a mixture of excitement and urgency, we decided to resurface as quickly as possible. Emerging from the depths, we eagerly scanned the horizon. We once again realized there was absolutely nothing. Upon reading our coordinates, we were shocked. We were now inside the Formosa Triangle. Not even 5 seconds later, we all heard wicked laughter. It was coming from a child.